Ever hop in your car, crank the tunes, and take off on like a road trip?
Yeah.
Maybe to visit family across the country?
Oh, yeah.
Well, imagine that same trip
Oh, yeah.
taking months,
Wow.
not hours.
Yeah.
That was the reality just a century ago before the Second Industrial Revolution. Like completely turned life upside down.
Right.
So today we're diving into how inventions from like the late 1800s and early 1900s completely reshaped daily life.
Yeah,
And they still have ripple effects today.
for sure.
We're talking Model Ts,
Yeah.
Wright brothers,
Yeah.
even a fascinating look at social change through Whole House.
Oh, cool.
So get ready for some like aha moments, because I think you might be surprised by how much this era mirrors our own time of like rapid technological advancement.
It's true. That period often gets overshadowed by like wars and political upheavals. But when you look at the everyday lives of people, it's a time of mind-blowing transformation. Think about it. Crossing the U.S. could take months by horse-drawn wagon. Sending a letter was the fastest way to communicate across long distances. And even then, it could take weeks.
No GPS, no smartphones buzzing in your pocket, no instant connection to the world.
Nope.
Hard to imagine, right?
Right.
It really puts things in perspective when you consider how reliant we are on those things today. It's like comparing apples and oranges.
More like comparing horse-drawn carriages to rocket ships.
Wow.
But here's the thing. People back then were on the verge of a technological explosion that would change everything.
Oh, wow.
And in some ways, their experience might feel strangely familiar to us.
Oh, really?
We've seen our own share of rapid change with the rise of the internet, smartphones, and social media. Their world was about to be rocked by inventions that seemed just as magical and, let's be honest, maybe a little bit scary at first.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those game-changing inventions.
Yeah.
We can't talk about this era without mentioning Henry Ford and the Model T.
Right.
It wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of progress and, as he mentioned, disruption.
Exactly. Before the Model T cars were luxury items, playthings for the wealthy Ford had this radical vision to make cars affordable for the average person.
Wow.
And he did just that, thanks in part to his innovative assembly line production methods. The Model T wasn't just a car. It was a statement about accessibility and a testament to the power of ingenuity.
And you can't talk about the Model T without mentioning its ruggedness.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a story about a Model T driving off a 14-foot cliff during a transcontinental race. Talk about a stress test.
Oh, my gosh.
The crazy part is the car was relatively easy to fix. Can you imagine that happening with a modern car?
No way.
We'd be calling a tow truck and bracing for a massive repair bill.
Totally.
Yeah.
That really highlights Ford's focus on practicality and durability. He knew that people needed a car that could handle the often rough and unpaved roads of early 20th century America.
And that vision of accessible, reliable transportation changed the face of America.
It did.
Suddenly, people could travel farther, visit family more easily, and even commute to work from further distances. Leading to the rise of suburbs, the Model T was a catalyst for economic growth, transforming industries and creating new ones.
Absolutely. It wasn't just a technological innovation, it was a social and economic revolution. Ford's focus on affordability meant that suddenly the freedom and mobility that a car provided were within reach for millions of people.
And just as Model T opened up possibilities on the ground, the Wright brothers were doing the same in the skies. Think about the audacity of dreaming of flight in a time when airplanes were the stuff of science fiction.
It's truly remarkable. Wilbur and Orville Wright, two bicycle shop owners from Ohio, achieved what many thought impossible. They weren't scientists or engineers in the traditional sense, but they were incredibly methodical, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a passion for understanding how things worked.
And it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? Their initial calculations for their flyer were actually off. I read that their improved second flyer, built with more precise measurements, didn't perform as well as the first one.
Isn't that fascinating? It shows that sometimes innovation comes from unexpected places. The Wright brothers embraced trial and error. They weren't afraid to experiment, to learn from their mistakes, and to constantly refine their designs.
It's a great lesson for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes taking risks and learning from those oops moments leads to the most groundbreaking discoveries.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of Thomas Edison's famous quote, "I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
Right.
And speaking of the Wright brothers' legacy, it's incredible to think that Neil Armstrong actually took a piece of the Wright Flyer fabric with him to the moon.
Talk about a powerful symbol. It speaks volumes about their enduring impact. The Wright brothers' achievement wasn't just about conquering flight. It was about pushing the boundaries of what was possible.
And that legacy continues to inspire us today. Every time we board a plane, were benefiting from their daring and their unwavering belief that humans could indeed fly.
It's hard to overstate the impact of flight on our world. It shrunk the globe, connected cultures, and opened up opportunities for trade and travel that were once unimaginable.
But as you pointed out earlier, every technological advancement has its ripple effects.
That's right.
While these inventions were incredible leaps forward,
Yes.
they also sparked rapid urbanization and brought new social challenges.
That's right. As cities swelled with people seeking opportunities, new problems emerged,
Yeah.
housing shortages, poverty, crime. These issues became increasingly pressing.
And it's in this context that we see the rise of individuals like Jane Addams and Ellen Gates Starr,
Mm-hmm.
who recognized the need for social support systems to catch up with these rapid changes.
Yeah.
They founded Hull House in Chicago, which became a model for community centers across the nation.
Hull House was more than just a shelter or a soup kitchen. It was a place where newly arrived European immigrants could find a sense of community, learn English access, job training, and receive support as they navigated the challenges of adapting to a new life in America.
And they weren't just meeting immediate needs, they were advocating for social reform, pushing for better working conditions, and fighting for the rights of immigrants and the working class.
Hull House became a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of compassion and community engagement. They understood that true progress meant not only embracing technological advancements, but also ensuring that those advancements benefited everyone, not just a select few. And that's a lesson that resonates just as strongly today.
It's fascinating to consider how people back then must have felt about all this change swirling around them. I mean, we all get a little overwhelmed by the constant influx of new technology.
Right. Absolutely. It's human nature to be both excited and a little apprehensive about the unknown. Think about the mixed reactions we see today with things like artificial intelligence or self-driving cars. People are fascinated by the possibilities, but there's also this underlying anxiety about the potential downsides.
It's like that saying, the only constant is change. But knowing that doesn't necessarily make it easy to adapt, especially when the pace of change is so rapid.
Exactly. And during the Second Industrial Revolution, that pace of change was truly unprecedented. Imagine seeing electric lights for the first time, hearing a voice transmitted over a telephone wire, or witnessing a Model T rolling down the street. These were revolutionary concepts that challenged long-held assumptions about what was possible.
It makes you wonder what those dinner table conversations must have been like. Were they debating the merits of gas-powered cars versus electric ones, or worrying about kids spending too much time on the newfangled telephone?
It's fun to speculate. And we actually have some glimpses into those anxieties. There's a great anecdote about Nikola Tesla and the introduction of alternating current or AC electricity.
Oh, right. AC was a game changer for its ability to transmit electricity over long distances. But it wasn't immediately embraced, was it?
Not at all. People were accustomed to direct current or DC, which was considered safer. But AC was much more efficient. Tesla championed AC, but there was a lot of fear surrounding it. Newspapers even published stories about children getting shocked by low-hanging wires carrying AC current. It fueled public anxiety and highlighted the very real dangers of this new technology.
It's a reminder that every technological leap comes with risks, and that those risks are often magnified in the public imagination before the technology becomes commonplace. Think about the early days of the internet. There were all sorts of fears about online predators and the erosion of privacy.
And those concerns weren't entirely unfounded. But over time, as we've become more familiar with the internet and learned how to navigate its complexities, those initial anxieties have lessened, even as new challenges have emerged.
So it's not just about the invention itself, but about how society adapts to it, develops safeguards, and integrates it into daily life.
Precisely. And that process of adaptation is always messy, with a mix of excitement, fear, and uncertainty. It's crucial to remember that when we look back at historical periods like the Second Industrial Revolution,
It reminds us that history isn't just about dates and inventions. It's about the human stories, the struggles and triumphs of people grappling with a world in flux. It's about recognizing that behind every groundbreaking invention, there's a network of people who may not get the same recognition, but play an essential role in bringing those innovations to life.
absolutely. Take the Wright brothers, for example. We often hear about Wilbur and Orville, but their sister Catherine was instrumental in their success.
That's right. She wasn't at Kitty Hawk for that famous first flight, but she was a vital part of their team. She handled their correspondence, managed their finances, and even acted as their public relations manager.
She was a savvy businesswoman and a fierce advocate for her brothers. She even traveled to Europe to secure patents and promote their invention. Without Catherine's contributions, the Wright brothers' story might have unfolded quite differently.
It's a great reminder that behind every great innovator, there are often unsung heroes working behind the scenes. And those stories are just as important as the stories of the inventors themselves.
Speaking of untold stories, there's a rather amusing anecdote about the Wright brothers and the Smithsonian Institution. It shows that even brilliant minds can get caught up in disputes, and that the quest for historical recognition can be fiercely competitive.
Oh, I remember reading about that. The Smithsonian claimed that another inventor, Samuel Langley, had actually achieved the first successful flight with his aerodrome. But the Wright brothers vehemently disagreed.
Langley's aerodrome had indeed flown a few years before the Wright Flyer, but it wasn't a controlled, sustained flight. The Wright brothers argued that Langley's attempt didn't meet the criteria for true powered flight. They refused to donate their flare to the Smithsonian unless the institution acknowledged them as the true pioneers of aviation.
The feud dragged on for years, and it wasn't resolved until after both brothers had passed away. Orville Wright, frustrated with the Smithsonian, had even donated the Wright Flyer to a museum in London. Talk about adding fuel to the fire.
It just goes to show that historical narratives are rarely simple or straightforward. They're often shaped by competing perspectives, personal biases, and even institutional rivalries. It's a reminder that the history we read in textbooks is often just one version of events filtered through the lens of those who wrote it.
And in this case, the Smithsonian eventually acknowledged the Wright brothers' claim. The flyer was returned to the United States and now has a place of honor at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. But the story of the feud highlights that history is a living, breathing thing, constantly being reinterpreted and revised as new evidence emerges and perspectives evolve.
Exactly, and that's what makes studying history so fascinating. It's not just about memorizing dates and names. It's about understanding the complexities of human motivation, the interplay of social and technological forces, and the messy, often unpredictable nature of progress.
Makes you wonder, what stories from our time will be told, like 100 years from now? Like, what events and inventions will future historians see as like the defining moments of the early 21st century?
That's a great question to ponder. Will it be the rise of artificial intelligence and its impact on everything from like healthcare to transportation?
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe like the development of self-driving cars and the reshaping of our cities and commutes?
Or maybe it'll be something that seems almost mundane to us now,
Right.
but will turn out to have revolutionary implications down the line.
Right.
We're living through such rapid technological advancements that it's hard to predict which ones will have like the most lasting impact.
It's true. We tend to focus on like the big, flashy inventions.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's the seemingly small, incremental innovations that end up transforming our lives in profound ways. Think about the internet.
Uh-huh.
In its early days, it was primarily a tool for researchers and academics.
Yeah.
Few could have predicted its evolution into this global communication network that's reshaped commerce, entertainment, and how we connect with each other.
And that brings up another interesting point. Just as the Second Industrial Revolution sparked social change,
Right.
the technologies we're developing today are raising all sorts of ethical and societal questions.
Yeah.
Like, how do we ensure that artificial intelligence is used responsibly?
Right.
How do we address the potential job displacement that automation might bring? These are challenges that we're grappling with right now.
Yeah.
And their outcomes will shape the future in significant ways.
Absolutely. Technological progress doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Right.
It's intertwined with social, economic, and political forces.
Yeah.
And just as Jane Addams and Ellen Gates Starr recognized the need for social support systems to keep pace with the rapid changes of their time, we need to be thinking about how we can harness the power of innovation for the benefit of all, not just a select few.
It's a reminder that progress isn't just about technological advancements.
Right.
It's about people. It's about creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive and where the benefits of innovation are shared equitably.
I think that's a key takeaway from this deep dive. The Second Industrial Revolution wasn't just about inventions, it was about the human response to those inventions. It was about how people adapted, innovated, and worked together to address the challenges and opportunities that this period of rapid change presented.
So as we wrap up, I'd like to leave our listeners with this thought. We're all living through a time of extraordinary transformation.
Yeah.
What choices will we make? What stories will we tell? What legacy will we leave for future generations? The answers to those questions are being written right now.
And who knows, maybe someone listening to this right now will be the one to make the next groundbreaking discovery or lead the charge for a more just and equitable future. The possibilities are truly limitless.